You know, listen, there's been so many great films that tackle crime. Boston crime is even a genre in and of itself. What were you hoping to add to this already pretty great genre that I feel like you really did add to?
Well, I've said this before. I really made the film with great trepidation because of that very reason. So many of my favorite films and so many of the best American films ever made live in this genre. The work of Lumet and Scorsese and Coppola, not even to mention the French or English who make incredible either gangster or true crime pictures. And then on top of that, you make a film in Boston, and there have been many great films with Boston. It's difficult to get the accent right. It's a couple of decades, the 70s and 80s, that are so difficult to get right because they're typically overly costumed and garishly hairstyled, all the sort of things that are pitfalls for making a film. So the truth was, and Johnny and I had this discussion very early on about making the film to separate it from all of those gangster pictures, that the gangsters typically live a very aspirational lifestyle. What was important for us, and very difficult for Johnny because he's playing a man who is largely sociopathic, is to make the film as humanistic as we possibly can. And if Johnny, and I'm sure he can elaborate on it, but if Johnny were to come in and play this man with only one or two colors, then you're going to get a very stilted and you're going to get a performance filled with artifice if he didn't approach it as Jimmy Bulger was human.
I mean, one of the things that Scott said to me early on is, I need to shoot the film in Boston. It's a true crime thing. This takes place in Boston. And then he said to each and every one of our department heads, like, we're shooting a film in the 70s and 80s, but I don't want to see your work. I want it to feel like we actually shot the film in the time period that it actually took place, as opposed to it feeling like this sort of, let's say, more theatrical version of that, which we often see in film.
How about you, Johnny? What was important to do differently from other films that you'd seen that tackle similar territory?
For me, and Scott and I talked about this early on, it was it was important to, I think it's very easy to approach a character such as James Bulger. You do all the homework, you read all the stuff about him, you understand to some degree the sociopathic nature and the business essentially that he was in. The only way to stay on top, or to take over another sort of arena, was violence. And so it seemed to me the right thing to do was to approach the character in reverse, to approach the character as we all are, just as a human being. We all have our faults, we all have our tics, we all have our this and that, we all have our large hair and stuff from time to time. But just to approach the character as a human being, as a very loving son, as a very loving brother, as a father who worshipped his child, as a as a guy who gave and helped, gave money to and aided people in the neighborhood, elderly women, he would carry their groceries for them, So you've got that guy, which I thought was really the kind of foundation, and then you've got the other guy who croaks somebody and takes a nap.
I remember
when
I saw this movie in August, I was so engrossed, but I will admit to taking myself out of the movie just for a brief moment in the scene, Joel, with you and Benedict, where you were having this great kind of verbal sparring, and I left the movie for a second and thought, shit, this is an Aussie and a Brit doing the best Boston accents I've ever heard. Did you and Benedict ever remark on just how crazy this was, given the fact of where you're from and what you were doing when you were doing the scenes together?
I do remember there being a shared sort of quiet terror about the accent. Where we did talk about it a little bit, and when I first met Benedict, and in between hearing, by the way, crazy women who thought they were married to him yelling out from outside windows and stuff, like there was certain people that found every set we were at, the Cumber bitches, is that what they're called? The Cumber, who follow him everywhere he goes, and he pretends to not notice.
Now it's Cumber Collective. Collective.
Yeah.
I've been schooled, believe me.
They've renamed themselves.
Yeah,
Yes,
the
they
Cumber
have.
Fraternity or whatever.
Cumber Collective.
Cumber Collective.
Cumber Collective. Hashtag. And they...
I've never heard that, and I've never been happier in my life to know that. Because I'm a cumber bitch. I really am.
Apparently a lot of people are, actually.
Yeah. Don't think celebrities aren't amongst that group. We've all joined. Card-carrying members up here.
I was terrified we were going to be the bad Boston accent for a while too. It's a tough. I mean, even for Americans, it's a hard accent.
Oh, look, here's the other thing. There's not just a Boston accent. It's not like one thing. It's not like you go to a shop and there's one product. You know what I mean? There's Southie, and even within Southie, there's a whole tapestry of other voices amongst those guys and girls. So.
And Jimmy Bulger and Billy Bulger grew up together. What you say it all the time, that they grew up together, but they.
They sound very different. Yeah, Jimmy Bulger, of course, has a very blue-collar accent, and Benedict's character is one that's very patrician, almost Kennedy-esque. Yeah, and it's really a put-upon accent.
I believe an accent is environment plus intention. A lot of us come from places, and you're like, clearly some people are striving to lose their accent. Some people are striving to kind of maintain a sense of dignity of place by keeping their accent. Some people just only use their accent when they've had too much to drink.
What are you doing? What are you doing right now?
I'm trying to appear fairly erudite, but if I had a few beers, you'd really get the Australianness out of me. So look, yes, we were terrified, but for me, it was a matter of striving to not have a Boston accent in general, but I had recordings of John Connolly, and my attempt was to get as close to the kind of unusual voice that he had.
Yeah. Rory,
the most amazing thing is that he's actually not Australian. You know what I mean?
I'm Benedict Cumberbatch.
He's from the former Yugoslavia.
That's right.
Rory tackled it by not speaking hardly at all in the movie.
Right. Well, no, but my question to you, Rory, was going to be.
Accent in his eyes.
There you go. There is a responsibility. I mean, I feel like there is a part of the movie where you are really driving it forward, almost as the narrator in a way. That's kind of be a cool responsibility too, to have that kind of propulsion.
I didn't really sign up for that. Scott kind of added that when I was already there, and I was petrified of that because, the research that I did, my character, or the person that I was playing, didn't speak a lot. He was very soft-spoken, and he was a sociopath, but he was very soft-spoken. And Scott's like, I want to add this stuff where you're being and I was like, wait a minute, this is not in the script. I didn't, I don't know how to prepare it, and it kind of freaked me out. I'm glad it's in there, but that was all Scott.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what was behind that decision? Because it's Jesse Plemons for a lot of the time.
It is, because I wanted to get three different aspects on Jimmy Bulger from three people who were very close to him. Of course, Earl, Rory, and Jesse Plemons' character, to really almost give us kind of a Rashomon effect, because I really found, as I was doing a lot of research in rewriting the script, or in reshaping the script, the truth was very elusive. And Jimmy Bulger thought something that was different than what the FBI thought, that was different than what Steve Flemmi thought, was different than what Kevin Weeks thought, and all of that was very different than what the head prosecutor Fred Weishaupt, Corey Stoll's character, than what he thought. And I met with all of these people to really try to get the truth. And even to this day, it's still very difficult to ascertain. But it felt to me as we were shooting that it would be important to see through Rory's eyes and Jesse and through Earl's just who this man was.
Dakota, what's this one scene that you had to do that kept you up at night the most, knowing you'd have to do it?
Is that a real question?
Yeah.
I mean, well, obviously the one where my child is dying.
Right.
But yeah, what?
How did
That
you,
was not an easy scene.
How
I
did
have
you
to say.
tackle the anxiety?
I don't
Get
think I
past it.
have yet.
She didn't.
I didn't. I still haven't.
She was amazing.
I'm in therapy.
Would you be comfortable watching it? Have you watched it? We're not going to put it up on the screen or anything, but is it
No.
to that level?
She's in
Yeah.
therapy for other reasons, not this movie.
No, I have watched it.
I'm her
but
psychiatrist.
But I mean, that's kind of the main reason why I wanted to be a part of this film is, I mean, aside from working with filmmakers like these ones, but I haven't come across a woman going through something like that who is actually my age in a story that is real, so it was something that I wanted to definitely be a part of.
And Julianne, you and I and Scott did a talk in New York, and I would love for you to retell the story that I love, which was the kind of interesting decision you made to how to contact Scott after you had a meeting with him to maybe flip
Is
the script
email
on getting the part.
interesting?
Yes, I think it's very interesting.
Well, I read with Francine Maisler, who's an incredible casting director, and I just said, can I get that guy?
That's a real Medford accent she's got there. So.
Yeah, wicked bad. So I asked for Scott's email address because I thought maybe if I fucking emailed him, I could get the fucking job. So I told him how bad I wanted it and why I should do it, and it wasn't just about like this. For me, it's not just about the accent. It's not just about the sounds, the shape of your mouth and the sounds that it makes, but where that comes from. And I am from there, so it was very exciting for me to try to be a part of it. And yeah.
And the email worked, by the way. You said that it turned the tide.
No, it really didn't. She didn't need to send that email because I was going to reach out
I'm
to
emailing
her.
everyone, by the way. Hollywood is like plastered with emails from me now. It's really disgraceful.
Well, I do like to contact my act. I don't like them to hear from their agents that they have gotten the job. You know, certainly Johnny didn't need to hear that from anybody because he had it. But all of these guys, I like to call personally and let them know. And I remember taking my daughter Stella to soccer, and she was on Bluetooth in the back seat, and she's very young. And I called Dakota, and I said, "Hey, Dakota, this is Scott Cooper," and she goes, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "You know, I'd love you to be in Black Mass." And for about maybe 10 or 12 seconds, it was nothing but the F-bomb coming out about how excited she was. And I could look in the rearview mirror, and my daughter's eyes were so big. And I said, "Oh, Dakota, I want you to meet Stella, my young daughter. She's in the car with us."
Yeah, but she really likes me now. She thinks
loves
I'm
it.
really
Yeah.
cool.
So every time I talk about Dakota, it's the F-bomb.
Wait till your daughter sees 50 Shades of Grey.
Wait, I also
Scott's
liked the
already let us
audition
say
that
it.
day.
It's cool.
What,
I was
Dakota?
at an audition when he called me, and I didn't get that one.
Julianne, as a true Bostonian, were you like the enforcer of accents on the set?
No.
Were you slapping people's wrists?
No. It is true what Joel said about, I mean, I have people within my family, within a house, the accent differs, depending on personality and what they're pursuing, and it's very tricky, and I was really happy when I watched this movie that I wasn't like, oh, fuck, I'm in that movie. Right. So it was good. I thought everybody did a really good job.
Earl, what kind of voodoo did you do to get in this amazing cast? You're such an accomplished character actor. This must have been one you really wanted.
I did. I mean, I kind of specialize in playing bad guys. I just went in. It was an audition at Francine's and cast off tape. But to nail it, I didn't meet John personally, the John that I play, Martirano. But what fascinated me was because again, I counted up, I have 27 screen murders in the course of my career. I've killed 27 people on screen. No, I'm sorry. I've died 27 times. I'd killed 30 some odd. So anyway.
It's a pretty good record.
Because I literally went back. I went back to IMDb and did that. Anyway, having played a lot of bad guys, what fascinated me about Martirano is I ran into several people that knew him. His nephew is in the background. Everybody, what a great guy. Oh, great guy Johnny is. How does a great guy, literally, not on film, literally murder 40 plus or more people? And then I watched there's only 2 interviews, films with him. And what fascinated me most is this distance. Like in most of the other guys I've played, you see the sadism. You see they enjoy the power. And with John, it's not there. He didn't enjoy it. And he did not consider it, I'm not a serial killer. Those people are sick. That was what he said in one interview. So anyway, it was just trying to tap into that just like shut down your humanity. And then that's what makes it even scarier. I think I just rewatched Halloween. That's one of my favorite movies. It's Halloween. That's the movie made me want to be in movies when I was a kid. But that's what struck me, thinking about this. That's what's so terrifying about Michael Myers in that film. He looks human, but there are no eyes. And so, anyway, that was it for me.
Except what he's not telling you is he was in Southie and he actually killed a guy in a bar. He did. He stabbed him.
Well, it was research, so it's tax deductible.
No charges. It was just all cool.
So Rory, you actually met Earl's character, is that right?
Yeah.
And are you allowed to talk about it?
It went well, obviously.
That's all you're going to get out of Rory.
I mean, the guy was, I met him outside of production. Production had nothing to do with it. And he was a helpful resource to me.
Okay. So here's a question from the audience. This is from Vicky Abelson. I like this question a lot. This is a question for you, Scott. Vicky wants to know, how much did physical appearance influence casting? I'm sure for some people there's a great resemblance and maybe others not so much.
Well, it's interesting because Johnny, in almost every regard, couldn't be less like James Whitey Bulger. Johnny is... And I would say this whether Johnny was here or not. But he is honestly one of the most soulful and gentle and kind people and generous people that I know. And what you see on screen couldn't be further from that. I mean, literally as not even as the film's director, but just a fan of his work in general, I was just mesmerized at how a man who can be so gentle and kind can transform emotionally and psychologically into the sociopathic monster you see on screen. Now, Johnny is one of the 2 or 3 most recognizable people in the world, and I'm not sure who number 1 is. And I knew that he would physically transform because
Lassie.
I
think.
Up there.
As you've just seen, you've seen the real Whitey Bulger in the movie. The FBI surveillance footage during the credits that the FBI allowed me to use, and that Johnny and I looked at to approximate his look. And Johnny transforms always for his film. So I knew that we were going to get that physical look right because he's working with an incredible makeup artist named Joel Harlow, and Johnny is very meticulous about that. And Whitey was known to have these very big blue eyes that would essentially peer through your soul. People that I spoke with who knew him well said that they had a very difficult time maintaining eye contact with him because his eyes were so piercing, and it was unnerving. And then Johnny got his physicality down perfectly. And Joel really bears a striking resemblance to John Connolly. So that was critical. When I was considering the role of Billy Bulger, and I really liked Benedict. My wife sent me a profile of a young Billy Bulger that looked almost in profile, just like Benedict. So it was really, really important. Dakota looks nothing like Lindsay Sear. But Dakota, when I met with her, she has such a very kind and old soul for a very young actress that I knew she would really elicit another side from Whitey Bulger that we had never seen, a very tender side that nobody else in the film could draw from him. Earl does look somewhat like, in a very positive way.
We're both husky fellas.
Yes.
Manly.
And Rory
Burly.
Rory had it's kind of this physicality that there was so much going on behind his eyes that I thought was really important. So this was the first time, Crazy Heart was not written, was not based on a real person, and neither was my second film, Out of the Furnace, but this was the first time I've made one in which these people should bear a resemblance to them. But when you have actors that are as good as the actors on this stage, whether they bear a resemblance to them or not, they would capture the essence, and they did that and more.
That leads really well into another audience question. This is from Jarrett. Jarrett wants to know from you, Johnny, what piece of research really got you in the shoes of James Whitey Bulger? Was there one thing that really cracked it?
I think there were a number of things, really, but I suppose initially the thing that really kind of fascinated me was this radical change from, like I said before, his business was the only way to forward his crew in business and to stay afloat was through violence. After he lost his boy, I'm not so sure it was about business anymore, and there was something about that really haunted me. Because being a father, as we can all understand, being a parent, you can't even imagine that. And so, going from this, sort of businessman and covering his tracks in a weird way to the guy that just snaps a neck and literally gets in a lazy boy and takes a nap with his cat, that's a fascinating figure,
When you're playing someone who is this intimidating and frightening, how do you figure out what your demeanor is going to be on set? Because you obviously want to be a pleasant person because you are a pleasant person, but on the other side of the coin, you want to be scary to the people that you're about to be acting opposite. Is it as simple as Scott says action and it just turns on there, or was there any gamesmanship that you wanted to play for the sake of having the best performances and best interactions? And then I want to ask if you guys were intimidated by him.
I mean, for me, in terms of the approach, I mean, obviously you've got a guy who's, his physical demeanor is used. He uses it as a kind of a tool. He was, Bulger's the kind of guy that would if he was standing, 18 inches from you while you're talking to him, he would then move in about 9-10 inches, just to sort of lock you into his gaze. So for me, it wasn't really. I don't think any criminal, I don't think any psychotic, I don't think any serial killer wakes up in the morning and shaves and goes, I'm such a fucking evil bastard. I'm going to kill everyone. So, do you know what I mean? So I think they just kind of approached the day. So essentially, what I would do in scenes, you know, because I don't, you know, and clearly from working with this unbelievably amazing cast, nothing is planned out, you know. It was a sort of a beautiful license to step into the ring and just sort of fuck with people, really. You know, I mean, push a little, you know, push a little, and see what they're doing, or step back a little, or you know, throw a curveball, and you know, amazingly, like I said, with these people, you know, with Dakota, with Joel, with Rory and Earl, I mean, other, you know, Cumberbatch. Amazing. I really had never heard that. You know, you throw something at them, they catch it, you know, and they chuck it back, or they throw something at you, which is really pleasant, because it takes the bottom out of the scene, which is important. So, yeah, they throw something at you, you chuck it back, and it's this beautiful sort of give and take. You know essentially what the objective is. You know where you need to go. You know what you need to feel, and that's just traveling. So you get there however you get there. But the most important thing is, in terms of, you know, having really what's most important about all these scenes is having a set that's, you know, very, very free, where there's, you know, nobody's sort of saying, oh, you have to stay within this particular square or circle or anything like that. Scott creates a set that is, you know, it's incredibly open to, you know, sharing the scene with one another, as opposed to, you know, experiencing something together, as opposed to, you know, oh, I'm stepping into the scene now, you know, you don't think about that. So he creates, and also shooting in Boston, this sort of available stimulus that is very nurturing, you know.
The really memorable moment for me is you and Julianne upstairs. That
was her fault.
Right. So you guys weren't like hanging
it's good
out.
for me. Yeah.
Right. What, Julianne? What are your remembrances
for me.
of that day? Did you guys keep a distance from each other on a day like that, or?
Yeah, I didn't. Yes, I didn't really see Johnny until it was time to do it. We were in a sound stage and it was very dark, and yeah, and then it was action, and then I opened the door and there he was. Crazy. It was crazy, and it was kind of, I mean, I had ideas about, I don't know, what you know, there's words on the page and you have an idea of what it's going to be, and then it became something else, it became something more, and that was very exciting. And I thought it was so thrilling to me because I've been a fan of his since I was much, much younger, since 21 Jump Street, and so I was so excited. But it's, you know, you open the door and that's not who was there. That's not who that's not.
So long ago, she's far too young to remember that. Reruns. That's what
Anyway, it was so great because I felt like, I just think he's such an amazing actor, which we all know, but it's so sort of subtle, and he just saw something happening and then sort of made it more, and it was really a thrilling thing to be a part of. And he added the line, Connolly, John's a lucky guy, and I thought, Johnny Depp thinks I'm pretty. So that was a good day.
Or at least James Whitey Bulger thinks.
Whatever, I don't care. Either one, I don't care. I'll take it.
Okay, couple last things before I let all these guys go home. So here's a great question for you, Joel. This is from Inbal, who wants to know, how did you work on subtle changes in John Connolly's personality and the way he evolved being around Whitey Bulger?
John was someone that I kind of had a lot of information about, but I could never pretend to know him completely. Even if I had met him, which I didn't do, he's in federal prison. I don't think he finds that funny. Oh, look at you in your orange overalls. But I felt like it wasn't a genuine, good, nice thing for me to do, to go meet a guy and say, hey, I'm going to portray you doing a bunch of things that you don't think that you did. And then I'd go off to a movie set and you stay here. And so for that reason, and true, I mean, I don't mean to make light of it too much, but that was the situation. But I had enough information about him. And I believe that a really good movie needs to be not just about individual actors' excursions to gather information. Like, we all need to be standing on top of the script. You know, the script should be the foundation. We should be the building that's built on top of that. And all of our information should filter through Scott. If it's good, new information that's not in the script, then to include it should be filtered through him. And what was interesting to me was that John could have been a guy that was like, I'm a squeaky clean cop with great intentions, Serpico in Boston, and I'm gonna, put away the bad guys, and then, meets the old sort of friend or neighbourhood hero in Whitey Bulger and becomes corrupted, and so begins this journey from for lack of better words, from shiny white sort of knight to the darkness of a bad dude. And I think people already have those qualities that they can potentially become. The person that you can become is already inside of you. You just need the right environment to bring it out. Whether that's celebrities and fame, whether it's whatever. The corruption in us, I think, is already waiting to be fertilised. And I think that's true of other walks of life, right? And I think that that's true of John Connolly. I think that his ambition was so ripe because he needed to be the alpha male that he naturally wasn't, that he saw in Jimmy, that in order to achieve his goals, which was to be the star on the Christmas tree at the FBI, he was willing to do the opposite of his job in order to get accolades within his job. And that to me was interesting. And so the real interest to me became, at which point is he lying, at which point is he telling the truth, and more importantly, when he's lying, how well is he doing it, or how not well is he doing it? And to me, I just saw him as like the plate spinner at the circus that I saw as a kid.
Until they start falling.
He's trying to remember what lie he told and to keep the whole ship afloat. And it all really comes down to, well, every performance I think comes down to all utilising every moment you've got along the way, but there's no, there's the crestfallen sort of nature of his self-awareness at the very end when the FBI, his own people, take him away, that sort of says a lot. But then again, every scene I think is an actor and two actors together, or an ensemble of actors together, should use every moment they have in a script to help texture a journey. But there were many of them. And I just felt like this role was a real gift in terms of that, because you're lying, but you're also a person, and it doesn't mean you're a bad person.
Here's a question for all six of the actors. This cast is ridiculous. Not only the six of you, but Kevin Bacon, Adam Scott, David Harbour, Peter Sarsgaard. It's like ridiculous. So now that you all have seen the movie a couple times, I want to start with you, Earl. Who is the one person in the cast that you wish, maybe it's someone you didn't get to really work with, who you wish you had gotten to work with that you didn't really get to?
In this cast?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I felt like I was in the 27 Yankees in Murderer's Row. Like everybody could hit it out of the park. Probably the first thing I read for was Peter Sarsgaard. I read for that role. And then I saw his final performance, like, oh my God, he's so much better than I was. because he made completely different choices that were much more interesting than what I did. So I'd probably say him.
Okay. Julianne?
I too, I just thought everybody was amazing when I watched this movie. And, you know, Johnny's incredible, and I loved working with Joel. That was so fun. I've been a fan of his forever. And I have to say, being from there, Rory and Jesse really grounded that story for me in a very real way, which I
Thank you.
love. You're so welcome. I emailed them too, by the way. Emails! But I was also blown away by Peter, who I think is amazing, but he just took that role and went someplace else crazy.
That's
Dakota?
what I was going to say, too.
That's
but
okay.
just because I thought he was so
I'm seeing
funny.
a spin-off series, obviously, here.
Yeah.
The
It'll be
pre-life of Peter Sarsgaard.
us three and Peter. I only worked with Johnny. I only had scenes with him, but I would have liked to work with Peter. He was really funny, I thought. I don't know if anybody else thought that was funny, but I thought it was fucking hysterical.
Rory?
I would have liked to work with Johnny Depp, you know, because I didn't really see any elements of Johnny Depp when I was working with him.
I wasn't there. It wasn't me.
We can make an introduction happen if you want a little bit later. Joel?
Well, you know, I had, I think, one of the luckiest, you know, characters in the movie, one of the luckiest jobs, because I almost got to work with everybody. And in fact, the only person that I didn't get to work with is I'm going to be part of the spin-off series. When you're working with Peter Sarsgaard,
Do
I'm
you
going to play
really
a small
want to
role in
work
that.
with me?
Yes.
That's
yes.
what I thought.
Can we? Yeah, that's what you thought?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we
okay.
dim the lights, please?
I'm in.
This is gonna get weird.
Yeah. So I don't know if you know this, but I've cast myself in 51 Shades of Grey. I'm going to be hanging around in the dungeon, and you're like, "What are you doing here?"
There's a role of an older lady that you could play.
Johnny, anyone you wish you had a little bit more to do with?
Sorry?
Anyone in the cast that you wish you had more with?
I kind of could have gone on forever with these people, you know. I really, well, first and foremost, I'm terribly sorry that I killed Peter Sarsgaard. Fuck him. Right? He deserved it. Fuckhead getting all this attention. Fuck him. No, Sarsgaard, I truly, I've been an admirer of for a while. You know, I mean, I saw him in that series, The Killing, and I just thought he was brilliant. I thought you know, he makes incredibly interesting choices. You know, he takes really odd turns at very odd moments, and I really admire that in his work. When you have the opportunity to share these moments with actors such as Rory, Dakota, Julianne, Earl, you know, Rory, Joel, Peter, all the way down the list. It's just not enough. I feel like I just got a kind of a taste, you know. I just wanted more and more and more of these people. I also wanted to kill Peter, so.
I think I can speak for everyone when I say thanks for sharing with us. Congratulations, Earl, Julianne, Dakota, Rory, Joel, John,
Thank you,
and Scott
Dave.
Cooper.
Thank you, Dave. Thank
Good
you
night,
very much.
everybody.
You're very kind. Thank you.
Congratulations.